بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا انفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين. We stopped last time, number 48, المداراة للمداهنة. And the قراءة, the reading is with Sheikh Shahrayar. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him. تفضل. بارك الله فيك.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Number 48, diplomacy, not compromise, i.e. on behalf of the deen. Compromising on behalf of the deen is a despicable characteristic. As for diplomacy, then it is not. But do not mix between the two, or you will be led by compromise to the presence of open hypocrisy, and compromise will blemish your iman.
نعم. What is the difference between مداراة and مداهنة? Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen says المداهنة is الموافقة, is to agree with someone and to be pleased with what, to accept and be pleased with what his rival is upon, and to leave him alone in what he's upon, meaning he does not try to rectify him. As mudara is that in his heart he intends to make inkar, and he wants by that to rectify his rival, however with wisdom and gradually. So one time he treats him nicely, another time he delays speaking to him about it, and sometimes he is stern and strict in regards to it, and sometimes he's lenient, sometimes he remains silent, and sometimes he speaks. In short, ya ikhwa, what Imam bin Uthaymeen is talking about is wisdom in da'wah. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum. Number 49, passion for the books. The author rahimullah said the meaning, which is, the nobility of knowledge is well known due to its general benefit and the dire need for it, more than the need to breathe. The manifestation of deficiency in it is dependent upon the extent of its diminution and the attainment.
The Sheikh said is like. Nah.
Sallallahu alaykum.
Continue.
And the attainment of satisfaction and happiness is dependent upon the quantity attained. For this reason, the seekers of knowledge were filled with the passion for knowledge and the passion for collecting books with careful selection. And there are many accounts on this that would take too long to mention. Many accounts can be found in Khabar al-Kitab, i.e. news of the book by the Sheikh himself, rahimullah. May Allah ease its completion and publishing. Therefore, collect the books, i.e. which are considered as foundations, and know that it is not sufficient to have one book and not the other. And do not stuff your library and confuse your thinking with worthless books, especially the books of the mubtabi'ah, for they are permeated with poison.
Na'am. Let's quickly look it up. Khabar al-Kitab. Bakr Abu Zaid. Let's see. Is it available? I can't find it. Is there a book for the Sheikh? If you are able to, if someone is able to, I quickly looked through Google. I didn't find it. If someone knows if it is published, this book called Khabar al-Kitab for Sheikh Bakr Abu Zaid, let me know. طيب. Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen says, if a person قليل ذات اليد, doesn't have a lot of money, it is not from khayr or wisdom, al-hikmah, that he buys many books, by which he spends a lot of money. this is from lack of or bad tasarruf, bad management. Therefore, the Prophet ﷺ did not command the man that wanted to get married, that didn't find anything. The Prophet ﷺ did not command him to borrow money. And the student of knowledge should take care of the canonical books, Ummahat al-Kutub, and should hold on to the books of As-Salaf al-Salih, for there is a lot of goodness, and it is better by far than the books of the Khalaf. And Imam bin Uthaymeen says, be careful of adding to your library books that there is no goodness in them. The Sheikh is saying, I'm not saying that have harm in them. I'm saying the books that have no goodness in them, don't do you any good. So make sure that your library doesn't have that. Doesn't have these books that don't have goodness in them, and doesn't have books that have evil in them. The Sheikh says there are books that are called literature, and they take a lot of your time without any actual benefit. What I have read to you, I believe personally, is a precious, precious advice. So listen to it again, what the Sheikh said, and abide by it. Na'am.
Sallallahu alaykum. Number 50, the foundation of your library. Make use of the books that are written upon the way of mentioning the proof and gaining understanding in the causes of the rulings and diving into the deep meanings of the issues. From the greatest of these books are the books of the two Sheikhs, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah and a student Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyyah rahimahullah. Amongst these books that are upon this path, old and new, i.e. are the books of number 1, Al-Hafidh ibn Abdul Barr, died 463, and the greatest of his books is At-Tamheed. Number 2, Al-Hafidh ibn Qudama, died 620, and at the head of all his books is Al-Mughni. Number 3, Al-Hafidh ibn al-Dhahabi, died 747, rahimullah. Number 4, Al-Hafidh ibn Kathir, died 774, rahimullah. Number 5, Al-Hafidh ibn Rajab, died 795, rahimullah. Number 6, Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, died 852, rahimullah. Number 7, Al-Hafidh al-Shawkani, died 1250, rahimullah. Number 8, Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimullah, died 1206. Number 9, the books of the scholars of Da'wah, and from the most comprehensive of them is Ad-Durar as-Saniyya. Number 10, Al-Allama as-San'ani, died 1182, rahimahullah, especially his beneficial book Subul as-Salam. Number 11, Al-Allama Siddiq Hasan Khan al-Kannuji, died 1307, rahimahullah. Number 12, Al-Allama Muhammad al-Amin al-Shinqiti, died 1393, rahimahullah, especially Adwa al-Bayan.
There are 13 actually, not 12, but طيب. And I can add to this list, barakallahu fikum, I can add to this list something extremely beneficial, especially now. That is a lot easier and extremely, extremely beneficial, which is add to this the books of Al-Imam al-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala. Add to this the books of the Imams of the Da'wah, like Al-Imam Ibn Baz and Sheikh Al-Allama Al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala, the Imam, the Muhaddith of this Asr, and Al-Allama Salih Al-Fawzan, and so on. But I put special emphasis on the books of Al-Allama, the Faqih bin Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala. And that is my personal opinion. I think they are extremely beneficial for a student of knowledge, not belittling anybody else, but I find them for myself to be extremely, extremely beneficial, and more beneficial maybe than others. And they are a good start before starting with Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim. And there's so much barakah in the books of Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala. And I have never found so many benefits. Whenever you open a book, you don't find repetition. For Imam bin Uthaymeen, you don't find repetition, always repetition. La. you keep finding a sea of new benefits. And rarely, he does repeat sometimes, but sometimes, not much. Nowhere near يعني, other people. So you find so much benefit packed into it. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him. Maybe this is because of his diligence and he was so keen on extremely enormously keen on benefiting students of knowledge, students of universities and so on, and students of knowledge. Therefore you see so much barakah. And also because his books are preserved. I know that Imam Ibn Baz and his explanations are preserved. For example, Imam Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, some of them are not there. For me, I found يعني I would give top priority for the books of Imam Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala. طيب. And Imam Ibn Uthaymeen says, it is important that a person chooses for his library and his references the original old books, because most of the latter books, the books of the mutaakhirin, they are little in meanings. He says قليلة المعاني كثيرة المباني. Who can translate this for me? Sheikh Harun, is Sheikh Harun here? Hey, now. Can you translate this? Do you know what قليلة المعاني كثيرة المباني, what does this mean? All of you, do you know what that means?
يعني أحسن الله إليكم يعني a lot is said with not much benefit.
A lot of what?
A lot is said without much benefit.
أحسنت
يعني
بارك
مباني,
الله
like types of words.
أحسنت نعم بارك الله فيك. Exactly. I won't add a single word to that. Exactly what the Sheikh said. And then Imam, so exactly what Sheikh Ali said. Imam Ibn Uthaymeen said, you read a full page and you can summarize it in 1 or 2 lines. But the books of As-Salaf As-Salih, you find it easy and رصينة, يعني well established. And you won't find a single word that doesn't have a meaning. Allahu Akbar. I used to, ya ikhwa, I used to get into arguments a little bit with some of my fellow students of knowledge and senior students of knowledge as well. And I would make this claim. I would say sometimes I read some of the books and you go through pages and you can just memorize in a couple of lines, and there's a lot of time wasted, especially at this day and age. And some of them would get angry at me. And sometimes I would say, like, I attended for some of 1 or 2 of the mashayikh who are dear to my heart and so on. And when they are visiting to Kuwait or something like that, and or online, and I would say that, after watching 17, for example, classes, the benefit is little. Some of the brothers didn't agree to this. And some of them told me, maybe you, because you're advancing in studying, you're thinking that the benefit is little. The benefit is a lot. It's just that you advanced. And this is one of my mashayikh, he told me this. He's like, you're advancing, that's why you're saying this. But I don't agree with anything from what I just told you. I believe, and Allah knows best, that a student of knowledge should carefully pick what explanation he needs. Because sometimes the explanation is dedicated to a certain person. I'm saying this, of course. To certain people, afwan. To certain people. Sometimes the Sheikh is explaining, so he goes to the masjid, he looks at the students are new. So he's explaining what? Something that is just for those that are just starting out. And you might find the same Sheikh, he's explaining, but he's explaining for what? For students of knowledge now. For students of knowledge. And sometimes the mashayikh themselves, they mention it. They say this is an explanation that is for beginners. And sometimes they say, la, this is for medium students of knowledge. And sometimes they say this is for everybody. And they would mention advanced students of knowledge will not go with it without finding benefit. They will benefit as well. So, and so on. And in my conclusion, ya akhwa, my conclusion, the books of Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen and the explanations of Al-Imam ibn Uthaymeen, there will always be beneficial. Even if you have a PhD and you have been for over a decade or 2 decades and you're 20 years into studying ilm and teaching it, the books of Al-Imam ibn Uthaymeen will always be extremely beneficial. And this is my personal opinion. And when you pick certain, of course, I when I say this, I don't mean someone who has only read like 10, 20 books or something, somebody who's just in the ABCDs of seeking knowledge. He just started out, he's only covered 10 or 20 books or something like this. La. We're talking about someone who's established student of knowledge. He's picking and choosing now because he looks at a certain explanation, he needs something from it, therefore he looks carefully. Therefore, I'm saying look for the most important. And I will give you examples. Sometimes, for example, you're looking for something that is concise, very brief, and straight to the point. And I think the explanation of the 3 fundamental principles and the 4 rules and for Sheikh Haytham Sarhan are like that. Straight to the point, very concise, absolutely important and crucial, gives you the crucial information you need. So that is a. What if somebody wanted to dive even more? For example, let's take the foundational dawra. We did the book of Tawheed explanation of Sheikh Muhammad Hisham, extremely important, extremely summarized. So what if somebody wanted to get in depth? We say Sheikh Sulaiman Rahili, medium students of knowledge. It's going to be very, very beneficial. There's going to be so many benefits in it. You're not even going to have that. You're going to be tired from writing down the immense benefits in it. And then you have the explanation for Imam bin Uthaymeen, an advanced explanation that is filled also. You can choose the most beneficial to you. Don't get trapped in a circle. Only beginner. I don't surpass that. So you look at 5 explanations, they're all the same level. Move on. Go to something that is more in-depth, something that is more advanced, and so on. So what is suitable for you? And I repeat, for the 3rd or 4th time, the books of Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen, the explanations of Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala. And of course, Al-Imam bin Baz and Al-Imam Al-Albani, so you're going to get a lot of benefits. But make the core, the focus, the books of Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala, and his explanations. طيب. That's gonna take you. The goal is that will, inshallah, when you're well firmed with that, it's going to take you to the books of Ibn Rajab and Ibn al-Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah and so on. طيب. Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen says, from the best things for a student of knowledge is to learn the issues as well as with their evidences. And the evidences are either nusus, textual evidence, from the Quran or the Sunnah, or they are ilal, there are reasons behind it. And the ilal that are derived from the nusus, even if there weren't textual evidences for this certain matter. However, the illa, the reason, encompasses all of them. So the reason behind certain things I am explaining, the reason behind certain rulings in the Sharia could be applied to other things that are not mentioned specifically with this evidence, but they have the same reason, therefore they take the same rulings. طيب. And no, Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen says no, that there isn't a ruling from the rulings of Allah Azza wa Jal except that it has a illah, it has a reason. And this is a general rule, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Mumtahana, ayah number 10, ذَلِكُمْ حُكْمُ اللَّهِ, that is the ruling of Allah Azza wa Jal. يَحْكُمُ بَيْنَكُمْ, He rules between you. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is alim, hakim. So there isn't a hukum, a ruling, except for a wisdom. Where did the Sheikh get this from? Do you know? The ayah says, ذَلِكُمْ حُكْمُ اللَّهِ, that's the ruling of Allah. Allah rules between you. So where did the Imam bin Uthaymeen come and say There isn't a ruling except with hikmah. And in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Alim, Hakim. The ayah is talking about ruling, not wisdom. Where did he get it from? Do you know? Can you answer this question? Allah rules with wisdom. Yes, we know, but where did he get it from the ayah? Adam says the names of Allah Ta'ala that are mentioned at the end, meaning of an ayah, this refers back to what is said before it. Ahsant, Allah yarda alayk. That is the answer. That is the answer. Never think that the names of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and the attributes that are mentioned at the end of the ayah has nothing to do with what was said. Wake up. All of you should have said that. Wake up, ya ikhwah. Huh? I am the one who's sick. Tayyib. Wake up. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking in the Quran, and then he says, Wallahu alimun hakim. Wallahu qawiyyun aziz. It is connected. It is not something that has nothing to do with what was said before. It is absolutely connected. Therefore, the rulings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah judges between his creation, and Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. What we studied before, ya Sheikh Adam, like you said, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you, that Wallahu Alim, the name Alim is connected to the ayah, to what was said. And the name Hakim is connected to the ayah that was said. And both of them combined together, Alim, Hakim, also give us a new meaning that is connected to what is said. Allah is all-knowing, so he rules and judges accordingly. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise. So his rulings and his judging is according to wisdom. And Allah subhanahu, and his wisdom is not based on ignorance. His wisdom is based on knowledge. See the connection now between knowledge and wisdom. Huh? And his knowledge and what he legislates and judges and rules is also according to wisdom. So it's not wisdom without knowledge. It's not wisdom with ignorance. Because you can have that, ya akhwa. You can have someone who's wise, but he's ignorant. Or you can have someone that is knowledgeable, but he's not wise. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put both of them together so that we know that his knowledge and his wisdom go together. So you get all of these three benefits together. You get that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about according to his knowledge and according to wisdom, and that his knowledge and his wisdom are, yani, how do you say it in English? Not compatible or governed by one another. Yani they go together. They're not devoid of one another. La. It is wisdom based on knowledge, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing. And when he legislates and rules and judges is based upon knowledge and wisdom, and his wisdom is accompanied with that, and his knowledge is accompanied with wisdom. There's nothing that is done without wisdom and without hikmah, as the Sheikh said. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him. طيب. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him. طيب. And the Sheikh says, and with the rulings, that which we know its reason, and we know that it has more than one reason, and some of them we don't know. It's hidden from us, the reason for it, and the wisdom behind it. However, when the specific reason is unknown to us, it is never unknown to us the general reason, which is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the perfection of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that you worship him by what he commanded, whether you know the wisdom and reason behind it or not. And this is even more powerful in conformity and following, obedience. That a person obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even without knowing the wisdom. However, he does it out of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and humility to him. And as if he is saying in his condition and with his tongue, سمعنا وأطعنا, سمعنا وأطعنا. And then the Sheikh talks about the books, and he says from the most important of books are the books of Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala and his student Ibn al-Qayyim. And our Sheikh, he says, Al-Imam ibn Uthaymeen, our Sheikh, Sheikh Abdul Rahman ibn Nasir al-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, he has encouraged to buy the, يعني to have the books of these two noble scholars. And it is known that the books of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala are easier because Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, his terminologies and wordings are strong because of the strength of his mentality, his mind and his intelligence, as well as because of his powerful knowledge. And also the books of Al-Hafiz, and then he starts mentioning the books of Al-Hafiz ibn Abd al-Barr, like the most known of his books is the Tamheed, the explanation of Muwatta al-Imam Malik, and so on and so on. And he starts talking about Ibn al-Qudama and so on. We don't, and the rest of that, the what he has mentioned, and Al-Hafiz ibn Rajab and so on. And Al-Allama Siddiq Hassan Khan Al-Qannouji, and he has books in fiqh and tafsir, and his tafsir is from the most comprehensive of tafasir for sayings, despite being brief. However, it is extremely beneficial. And our sheikhs, Al-Imam bin Uthaymeen says, they used to give us a wasiyya, yani advise us with the tafsir of Siddiq Hassan Khan. And then he talked about the tafsir of Al-Allama Al-Amin, Muhammad Al-Amin Al-Shanqiti. طيب. نعم.
Sallallahu alaykum. Number 51, dealing with the book. Sheikh Bakr Abu Zaid rahimahullah said the meaning, which is, you will never benefit from any book unless you know the terminology used by the author therein. And many a time, the foreword is a guide to that. So read the book starting at the foreword.
نعم. نعم, there are terminologies for some of the ulama that saves up your time, and Imam says, and you'll find this in the introductions of the books. For example, the author of Bulugh al-Maram. Do you know who's the author of Bulugh al-Maram, ya akhwa? Quickly, do you know? Ibn Hajar, أحسنت, Al-Hafiz Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani. And if he says muttafaqun alayh, when he says agreed upon, he means Al-Bukhari and Muslim. And the author of Al-Muntaqa, do you know who's the author of Al-Muntaqa, ya akhwa? أحسنت, Al-Majd Ibn Taymiyyah, not Taqi ad-Din, not Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, his grandfather. When he says muttafaqun alayh, agreed upon, he means narrated by Imam Ahmad as well as Al-Bukhari wa Muslim. So you think it's just Al-Bukhari and Muslim? And also Imam Ahmad. طيب. And also if he says, for example, the author ijma'an, yani with the ijma', with consensus, or he says wifaqan, meaning with agreement. So if he says ijma'an, Imam bin Uthaymeen says, meaning the ummah are in consensus about it. And if he says wifaqan, he means 3 imams. As is the way of Sahib al-Furu' when it comes to the fiqh of the Hanabila. Do you know who's the author of al-Furu' ya ikhwan? The Imam is talking about? Quickly. Don't look it up. Do you know who's the author of Al-Furu'? طيب, I caught you with this one, huh? It's Ibn Muflih. The student of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. طيب. And then the Shaykh starts talking about to handle a book, يعني to know its the way, يعني its terminologies and the way it speaks. So if you read the book the first time you read this, especially in the books that are filled with knowledge, you will see that it's the sentences need contemplation and thinking about the meanings. because you're not used to it. And when you reread it, you start getting used to it. Look, for example, at the books of Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. The person who is not trained to read his books and look into his books, it becomes difficult for him to understand them from the first time. However, when he practices, it becomes easier for him. طيب. I think we will stop on number 52, inshallah azza wa jal. We'll stop today here. Let's see. Or actually, let's finish it. Let's finish it. This is the last in this chapter, so let's finish it. نعم, 52 and 53. نعم.
Sallallahu alaykum. Number 52. Further to this, the Sheikh rahimahullah said, if you purchase a book, do not put it in your library until you had a browse through it or read its foreword, its index, and a few extracts from it. If, however, you put it in your library in its category, a long time will pass and your lifetime will pass without looking into it. And this has been experienced. And Allah is the giver of prosperity. Number 53, writing with diacritical points. If you write, then write using diacritical points, which removes any obscurity, and obscurity can be removed in a number of ways. Number 1, clarity of the handwriting. Number 2, writing according to the rules of writing. And there are books on this. Amongst the most important of these books, Kitab Al-Imla by Hussein Wali and Qawaid Al-Imla by Abdul Salam Muhammad Harun and Al-Mufradul Alam by Al-Hashimi. Number 3, placing the diacritical points upon the letters that should have them and leaving the letters that shouldn't have them without them. Number 4, vowelizing that which is obscure. Number 5, to write the numbers of the ayat and the ahadith.
And this is the end of this chapter. نعم.
Now,
Imam bin Uthaymeen, this is straightforward. The Imam bin Uthaymeen says, when it comes, many people say when it comes to the word the experiment, they say tajrubah wa tajarub. And the Sheikh says this is a mistake. The correct one to say it is to say tajriba wa tajarib. And then the Sheikh talks about a benefit. He says, you will see that the ulama, they will say بالطاء المشالة. When they say طاء مشالة, they mean like dha, but without the dot. Or they say بالضاد المعجمة التي تشبه الصاد. معجمة has a dot. وبالدال المهملة, meaning it doesn't have a dot. It's not the, it's da. وبالذال المعجمة, meaning it has a dot, and stuff like this. This will be difficult for you to understand unless you know these terminologies. الله تبارك وتعالى أعلى وأعلم. وصل اللهم وبارك وأنعم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.